Evening. Before I begin, let me just tell you who's up here with us. You have Chief Rodney Harrison, Chief of Patrol, Brooklyn North Borough Commander Chief Jeff Madry, Force Investigation Division Chief Kevin Maloney, Chief Ed Delatorre, Chief Surgeon Dr. Eli Kleiman, Deputy Commissioner Miller, John Miller, and Deputy Chief Jason Wilcox. And also I want to thank as well the hospital staff here, and certainly Dr. Rose, the Chief Administrator, for all the courtesy that they provided this evening and taking care of our officer. Before I turn it over to Chief of Patrol Harrison, I just, we don't tolerate violence in this city on just day to day. We do not tolerate it, and we certainly can't tolerate it when the officer is the subject of indiscriminate violence the way it was this evening. An attack on a uniformed officer doing his duty is an attack on society at large, and we can't have that. And so I'll turn it over to Rodney, and he'll walk you through the details of the events this evening, and we'll go from there. Rod?
So good evening. I'm Rodney Harrison, Chief of Patrol. I want to remind you that the information I'm about ready to provide is preliminary and subject to change. Earlier this evening, at approximately 5:40 p.m., a male entered Gold Mine Nail Salon at 447 Mother Gaston Boulevard, attempting to use the restroom. After the male entered, he began to urinate in the middle of the store. Two uniformed police officers from the 7-3 in a marked department van were on patrol and were stopped by the salon operators and requested that the officers remove the disorderly male. In the course of the field investigation, the officers determined that the male had an active warrant and began to place him under arrest, and he began to resist. An individual standing outside the store entered and engaged in a violent struggle with the uniformed officers. One of the officers deployed a taser, but it was ineffective in stopping the threat. The male continued his violent struggle with the officers by raising up a metal chair and striking one of the officers in the head. This officer discharged his firearm 6 times at the subject. The perpetrator was pronounced deceased at the location by EMS. The officer who was struck in the head is in a medically induced coma here at Brookdale Hospital Medical Center and is in critical but stable condition. The officer's partner was treated for tinnitus at Kings County Hospital and has been released. The subject of the initial stop has been apprehended and charges are pending at this time. I'd like to thank the doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals here at Brookdale Hospital for the excellent care afforded to our officer. Once again, we're standing at a hospital because one of our brave officers was injured while keeping New Yorkers safe. This time it was because a man who violently interfered with a lawful arrest. This incident underscores the dangers our officers face each and every day. I'd like to pass it over now to Pat Lynch.
Thank you, Chief. It seems like it's only been days since we had to rush to a hospital, because it is. Once again, we had police officers responding to a calls for help from the public and was set upon. This police officer spent his career in our busiest precincts, serving the community, and he was set upon for no reason. There is never, ever an acceptable reason to attack a New York City police officer. We should also understand that there's a family upstairs sitting vigil that was going about their day, and then their phone rings and says, your husband's been injured, we're coming to get you to bring you to this emergency room. We should always keep that image in our head. That's what our families deal with on a regular basis. We go out to help your families, but our families pay for it when someone sets upon a New York City police officer. Never acceptable. It has to stop.
We'll take some questions.
You said that one of the men had a the man who was urinating in the store? What was that warrant about?
So that was the initial individual that went inside and urinated in the middle of the store, and the warrant was a SAP warrant, a summons warrant for criminal mischief in the past.
Witnesses described that the man that urinated was a panhandler, and the man interfered with some T-shirts outside.
So I'm not sure about the panhandler part, but the other individual was outside and selling something, but he definitely was a peddler.
Can you describe that struggle with officers before the tasing was
So the officers tried to place the first subject under arrest, at which time he resisted, and during that struggle, the other individual came in and hit the officer with a metal chair. Like I stated, he's right now in a medically induced coma, but he is stable at this time.
How long has he been on the job?
21 years. And the other officer has 7 months with the police department. Yes, he was apprehended.
All right, one more.
Sir?
I just heard that the body of the victim had been left at the scene in a stretcher. I don't know if that's true, but I was wondering if that is practice or if that was also.
That's part of the crime scene, and the body's still inside the location.
All right,
Thank you, everyone.